dinner with a very senior chap from the retail sector in London the other week, and we had an amazing conversation, and he shared some numbers with me that I really want to share with all of you. So everyone knows about the national living minimum wage increase that's coming over the next year or so. What most people haven't quite figured out is it's going to add about 38% to our wage bills. Now that 38% is obviously going to impact the profitability of every retailer across the country. So what are we going to do about that? Well, intuitively, you think, well, let's cut costs. So we'll reduce potentially the staffing in our stores. There's been some really compelling research in understaffing and overstaffing in a retail store. And it turns out if you understaff in an average sized store, even by just a couple of people, it impacts your profitability. And it impacts your profitability by about 7%, which is a very large impact. Overstaffing, however, clearly all you do is you pay for the cost of the staff, because when you're understaffed, people don't buy as much as they normally would do, and the impact of overstaffing is only about 1%. So which would you rather do? Well, clearly overstaffing would be better, but you wouldn't really like to overstaff if you can possibly avoid it, because we've got to absorb these costs. So how do we manage that? Well, it turns out it's even worse, because retailers are also increasingly moving a lot of their sales online. Now, online retail has some associated costs, delivery costs, returns costs, and it turns out that very often, particularly in things like fashion retail, people are on average buying 5 items, but buying different sizes of items, and returning, of those 5, 3 of them, which is roughly the profit you would get from the other 2 that you kept. So online growth, returns problems, increase in living wage, the problems of understaffing on profitability, and overstaffing. How do we manage all of this? So creating the smart digital store. This is what the best retailers in the world are starting to do, is to manage the movement of staff through the store by putting cameras and sensor systems in that store to watch what the customers are doing, where they dwell inside the store, what goods they're hesitating in front of, to be able to move the staff in a smart way to the appropriate location. You create a virtual overstaffing. That's going to let us cope with the increasing living wage. That's why people are turning to digital stores.